button is pressed. Words can build you up. Words can break you down, start a fire in your heart, or put it out. Let my words be life. Let my words be truth. These are some of the song lyrics from a song called Words by the Christian rock group Hawk Nelson. Words can truly build us up or break us down. The words we use on ourselves especially can create the world we live in. At times I've said to myself, I can't do this. I'm overweight. I don't have a good memory of names. And there are other times where I've said, I'm joyful. I'm beautiful. I'm the light of the world. All these experiences create our lives because we said it. Words build us up. Words can break us down. Now, before we get deep into this talk, I want to define some terms today. The first term is power, and I'm using power from a teaching from the Unity Church, which is a sister of New Thought. It's one of the branches of New Thought philosophy. The Unity co-founder, Charles Fillmore, says power is the power behind the spoken word. So it is often said that the power in our words have power. And it is first is an internal idea, and then we express that idea by the words we say. Another term is consciousness, and how my definition of consciousness is the filter the human mind uses to make sense out of what comes out of the divine mind. So let's talk about divine mind for a moment. Divine mind is that ocean of ideas, the billions and trillions of thoughts and possibilities that the human mind can access. But the human mind can only access very small bits of information, and it comes out as an idea. The other two terms I want to define are affirmations and denials for this talk. So affirmations, we're affirming or we're speaking truth even when the appearances is that it's false. And denials are those things where we speak truth even when we say things are not true even when they appear to be true. So recently, I listened to a Super Soul podcast, and Oprah Winfrey's guest was Bishop T.D. Jakes. Now in the podcast, a 56-year-old woman started to tell her story, and this is what I heard. I am old, she said. I'm unemployed, she said. I have no opportunities. And because I am old, a woman, and have no opportunities, I have no opportunities. The bishop made this observation. He said, that is your narrative. You created that, and I rebuke that. Now, rebuke means a stern disapproval of. Now, I wasn't kind of going into that Bishop Jakes vibe, okay? So I started looking in the thesaurus, and I saw the word refusal, and I like that because that's a perfect denial. I refuse to believe that I'm too old. I refuse to believe I have no opportunities. That I could buy with. So this became her consciousness because she built that story of her life. By using these words, she was affirming the very things she didn't want in her life. She created a prayer. She created a narrative. She was using the spiritual law to her detriment, the law of attraction, which says thoughts and mind produce after their kind. She attracted unemployment. She attracted no opportunities because she kept affirming it. Let's realize this. Create the environment, you create the effect. This is cause and effect. The cause are the words, the beliefs, and the thoughts. She was living unemployment and no opportunity. The effect. The bishop was not having any of it. I don't know if he truly understood the universal principle of denial, but he was using it pretty well because he said, I rebuke that. I refuse to believe this is your plight. She needed a recharge, a clearing out. And this is why I'm getting at is affirmations and denials. This is our toolbox. When a negative thought comes to us and it's ready to corrupt your thinking, you are less than, you sweep it away with a denial, and then you affirm something new. Words can easily create a narrative in our lives, and all too often a storm comes and we create a negative narrative. However, we don't have to fall into this trap. We can make our words be life. We can make our words be truth instead of this negative narrative. It brings me to a gospel story that I'd like to share, and it's from Mark chapter 4, 35 through 39, and I'll summarize and read verse 39. Jesus is on a boat after preaching, and he's resting. And then all of a sudden, a great storm comes, and it's rocking, and the boat is on the verge of sinking. And this is what happens next. He woke up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." The wind ceased, and there was a dead calm. Now let's look at this metaphysically. In New Thought, we don't look at Bible verses literally. We look at them metaphysically. We look at the hidden truth behind. So what's the storm? The storm is our emotions, our thoughts, and those emotions, thoughts can rock our world. Now the disciples were panicking. They were summoning Jesus to come and help them. You can live in a world of panic when any storm in your life comes, or you can do what Jesus did. He denied the storm and affirmed the peace. We can do the same thing. The storms in our lives with words, thoughts, and beliefs that create our life experience. And in my own experience, I've allowed others' beliefs to become my beliefs. As a young person, we're taught by our elders, and I believe most parents or important people in our lives are well-intentioned. But as a young, impressionable child, we take on these beliefs. I believe as we get older, some of our storms in our lives is shedding the beliefs that we were raised on and creating new beliefs that work for us. I often say we learn the first 20 years of life and then we try to unlearn the next 60. When I was young, I was raised Roman Catholic and was taught being gay was immoral. And as I became a young adult and realized I was gay, I was conflicted, and it became a storm. For my own sanity, I had to change my beliefs and change my thoughts, and I had the idea that God did not love me. So at time, I had to step away from organized religion and start a new belief system. I still believed in God, but I had to put God aside for a while. Now, in truth, God is always around. There's no place where God is not. However, I had to change my belief system. I had to change the belief I was immoral and corrupt. Now, how did I do that? The answer came to me in music. The artist that inspired me the most in my coming out days was Diana Ross. Now, way before, even as I accepted I was gay and not really knowing I was gay, I bought my first CD player in 1984. It was a Radio Shack CD player. I love that CD player. And the first two albums or CDs I bought were Diana Ross's Greatest Hits and Madonna's Like a Virgin. Well, that can just tell you. You know, if I didn't know I was gay, others knew. But the point I want to make was Diana's music was like an affirmative prayer for me. Lyrics like, or play it safe for a while that was easy, or I've given up the truth for those I've tried to please. Do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that life is showing you? Where are you going to? Do you know? Or it's time to break out of that shell. I have to shout, I'm coming out. Now singing those words over and over again, tell me that these are not prayers or treatments for your soul in your struggle for authenticity. Now how they can shape your thoughts and reshape your belief. Those words had power, and something as mundane as that can transform your life. It did mine. I must have listened to that CD 8 years straight. It treated my mind with what I needed, a recalibration, so I could then seek the God of my understanding. It is the words I used over and over again through those songs that brought me through the storm of coming out. Now, as you see with these examples, words can bring us up and words can bring us down. So what tools can we use to go through the storms in our lives? So there's a few things in our toolbox we have. We discussed affirmations and denials, and the power of power, which is using words, and the beat system, which I'll go over shortly. Words can start us believing things that are not in our best interest, and all too quickly, you have created a belief system. Because your words are powerful, we can start getting emotional, and we can cop an attitude. All too soon, our thoughts become polluted with a life experience we wouldn't choose on our worst enemy. Now the reverse is true. You can have words that uplift us and can elevate our emotions and uplifting our thoughts that bring us to the right attitude. Your choice. And if we are using the words that create our belief systems, how can we check it? Jackie Woodside, a New Thought author, introduced me to this acronym called BEAT. Belief, emotion, attitude, and thoughts. We can use BEAT as a way to check our consciousness, because what I just described to you is your consciousness. We think as we believe. What attitude and emotion we have is the state of consciousness we are in. The problem is many of us, including me, are not conscious of our consciousness. We go around in our lives full steam ahead and not stopping to say, how's my consciousness right now? Can I change my thought? Can I change my attitude, emotion? So let's go back to that 56-year-old woman using the BEAT system. Her belief was, I'm a victim of circumstance. I'm old. I have no opportunities. That is a belief. Emotion, she put on sadness and depression. Attitude, I'd say she's hopelessness. That's the attitude. This is a hopeless situation. And thought, I'm old and I'm not needed. Now let's see if we can change that. Now I'm not expecting her to make leaps and bounds, but here's what could change. Belief, I'm a child of God and I have an abundant opportunities. Emotion, I'm joyful. Attitude, faithful knowing. Thought, all that will be provided to me in the right and perfect time. Brings me to another example of how we can see things and master our thoughts. Recently, a fellow minister shared this story. He was at a conference and one of his colleagues said to the 20 gathered, let's go to dinner and have steak and lobster and the meal is on me. They went to the restaurant and the manager said, I'm sorry, the kitchen is closing. The man said, well, I have a party of 20 and we're ordering steak and lobster. Well, the manager said, okay, that's great. I'll keep the kitchen open. The waitress was not too happy. She copped an attitude. The man spoke to one of his guests and said, I'm not allowing her attitude to ruin my night with all this wonderful company. She's miserable and I don't have to be. In fact, I will tip her big. How many of us, including me, would cop an attitude right back? We have the power. We have the power of our words. We have the power of our thoughts and our emotions. We can change the attitude in a second if we choose. Our choice. In summary, what is in our toolbox? Our toolbox includes denials and affirmations, the realization of the power of power, and our little beat system here that I just described. It is no good just to pose a problem and have no solution. The work in New Thought is just that, have a new thought. And as I said before, how many times we go around with no awareness of what we're doing. Many times we are unconscious. Well, we can realize what we're doing, that's half the battle, and then make a course correction. Our toolbox is there for us. As soon as a thought or an idea comes that is not to your liking, say, I rebuke that. Or say, I refuse to believe I'm too old. I refuse to believe I have no opportunities. Those are strong denials. Now affirm something. I'm powerful. The right and perfect opportunity is coming my way. Realize you have the power to choose your words carefully. And if a word comes out that's not to your highest good, say cancel. Replace the word. Remember, words are powerful, and just as you said a word, you can replace it. And lastly, use the beat system. If you are in a funk, ask yourself, what's my consciousness right now? Am I in the Christ consciousness? And am I in a separation consciousness between the divine and my humanness, a victim consciousness? What is my belief around this? What emotion am I feeling? What is my attitude? What are my thoughts? So remember, words can build you up, words can break you down. Start a fire in your heart or put it out. Let my words be life, let my words be truth, and when the words break you down, remember to say, I rebuke that.